So the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is going to make your mama holler. Not anymore. Not with the quantitative easing. After all that quantitative easing going on, the U.S. dollar ain't worth a continental. The U.S. dollar ain't worth a fucking Bitcoin. Not anymore. You just print money. We used to be on the gold standard, meaning our dollar was tied to gold because gold was a nice, solid, sound currency. That's why Andrew Jackson hated the banks. He was, the silver and gold is in the Constitution. That's what we're supposed to be trading with, the silver and gold. But instead, we're going to go with this piece of paper. This piece of paper right here. The U.S. dollar. The free-floating fiat Federal Reserve note. And then look at this fucking prick. This asshole right here. Yeah, old fucking George Washington. There's a number, there's millions of reasons why he's an asshole. He told all the slaves, he owned 300 slaves when he died. He owned them ever since he was 12 years old. He told the slaves to get rid of their dogs. The dogs are protective of the slaves, so that probably wasn't good for the overseers, the oppressors. So George Washington was like, hey, slave, go out in that field and pick my cotton and my tobacco and, do my hoeing and digging and all the fucking manual labor for me for free, or else I'll beat the shit out of you and get my entire fucking country to beat the shit out of you. Throw you in prison, motherfucker. He monopolized violence for white people. So imagine being a black person in America, being a black person in Africa, being any person of conscience anywhere. This motherfucker was a slave owner, and it was probably because of slavery is why he jumped into the American Revolution. Oh, shit. That fucking British governor, Lord, fucking Cornwallis, Lord Dunmore. He was going to free the slaves, and George Washington was like, oh, shit. We better overthrow these British fucking redcoat bastards going to free that's my free labor. I don't want to do all that goddamn labor. I got to build a country. I don't want to do all that labor for free. I know. Let's start a fake democracy with fake freedom and equality for all. But in reality, it was a white, aristocratic, racial dictatorship. Apartheid. It was worse than apartheid, worse than segregation. Fucking slavery. Hey, look at this. Hey, America, we got a fucking slave owner representing, and they haven't changed the American dollar in years. They haven't changed the American dollar. It's the same. They changed the $5 bill, changed the $10 bill, changed the $100 bill, right? We're adding some colors and inks, and where's the fucking Harriet Tubman? Where are them Tubmans? That sounds awesome. It's fun. Money should be fun and exciting. We should have silver and gold coins. We're capitalist. We're the leader of the fucking capitalist world, right? We kill people if they're communist. We've overthrown fucking dictators for being communist. We've thrown our own citizens in jail for being communist. So if we're going to be fucking capitalists, why don't we trade with silver and gold coins? But instead, we're going to go with a piece of paper. It's not really free-floating if we're, quantitative, not qualitative, quantitative, because we're just printing up, expanding the money supply. So some financial definitions. A federal funds rate is the rate that commercial banks charge between themselves for overnight loans. That's the federal funds rate. I think the Fed's involved with that too. Debt monetizing. Debt monetizing. This is converting debt into cash paper money. Hey, you got debt? Well, here's $50 fucking dollars. What? It's crazy that there's even a market for debt. But apparently American debt is like, one of the safest things you can invest in. It's a huge market for debt. What, you owe a lot of fucking money? Well, hell, can I lend you some more money? What? So you got debt. I'll take I would take cash. Yeah, I'll give you my debt for cash, of course. Yeah, give me cash. You take my debt, my student loan debt. You take it, and I'll get legal tender, Federal Reserve. Give me all them Federal Reserve notes. Give me a whole pack of those greenback jacks. The money supply is the total value of money available in the economy at a point in time. 6.6 million Americans have claimed unemployment. 6.6 million! That's more than 6 months in the Great Depression, or the Great Recession. In the economy, this has been Donald Trump's rallying cry his entire president? Oh yeah, you fuckers elected him president. Most especially low unemployment numbers. Oh, we got the lowest unemployment. Look at our unemployment. Low unemployment. The record, historic record. Look at the stock market. Economy. The economy's doing great. Now the economy. I saw the Dow Jones. It is going like straight down. It's like fucking nosediving like just as quick as possible. $2.2 trillion. It helped for an hour. It helped for about an hour. $2.2 trillion. Helped for an hour. So this is all about Jerome Powell. Let's get on with it, okay? Let's get on with the show. I'll explain what U.S. Treasury securities are, and Jerome Powell is not just he's not just the chair. He's not just the chair of the Federal Reserve, but he's also the chair of the Federal Open Market Committee, FOMC. So the Federal Open Market Committee is a big fucking deal. It's a big fucking deal. It's basically the same people. It's all the Fed, and the Fed's only 5 members. 2 of the seats are vacant. So only 5 people are dictating our monetary policy. And the Fed and the Federal Open Market Committee, they're basically the same people. The Federal Open Market Committee is the Fed plus 5 of the federal presidents, the federal bank presidents. One of them being the New York branch, and then 4 of them are rotating, and so that's who's part of the Federal Open Market Committee. And that gives them power. That gives the federal branch in New York more power than the rest of the branches. But more particularly with Jerome Powell, who owns fucking stocks. He's in control of our monetary. So the Federal Open Market Committee and the Federal Reserve Board of Governors are just, 2 government entities. One's 5 members, the other one's 5 members plus, 5 of the presidents. So it's, bigger. There's 5 of them, or there's 10 of them. But it's still the same 5 that's part of the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, if they got their mind made up, it's probably, less likely that the presidents of the regional banks are going to get into a solidarity that would break it. So whatever the Fed wants that's unanimous, the Fed will get in the Federal Open Market Committee. So Jerome Powell leads both of these organizations. He's both the chair of the Fed, the Federal Reserve System, the Federal Board of Governors, the 7-member board, which only has 5 members, and the Federal Open Market Committee. So Jerome Powell, he owns shares in the Causeway International Value Fund, $300,000 at least, plus, we don't know specifically, but the fact that I even know this much, $1 to $5 million is invested in Vanguard Total Stock Market. And Vanguard, so what is these things, right? What's a Causeway International Value Fund? What the fuck is a Vanguard Total Stock Market? And who the fuck, people have so much fucking money, they're just like, hey, I'm gonna take $300,000 and I'm just gonna roll the dice on Causeway International Value Fund. Jerome Powell is, and since Jerome Powell has picked these 2 stocks, definitely look at those 2 stock markets to go up. He's going to protect stocks. He's a millionaire. He's worth $55 million, so he's going to make sure he protects the millionaire class, make sure he protects the stock market class. Now, the Causeway International Value Fund, this is a fund that invest primarily in common stocks of companies in developed countries outside the United States. So at least 80% of the total assets of the Causeway International Value stock is stocks in foreign countries. So fantastic. Jerome Powell's bought and paid for by the goddamn French and the goddamn French and the South Africans. I don't know. But Estonia and Iceland, 80% of the assets have to be in stocks of foreign countries in this Causeway International Value Fund, which is a stock that Jerome Powell, the chair of the Fed chair, has at least $300,000 plus in this stock market fund thing, whatever fund. What is this, fucking hedge fund or something? $1 to $5 million. So he's got more money. So he's got, he's got a conflict of interest with Causeway International Value Fund, and then he's got a conflict of interest with Vanguard Total Stock Market. Conflict of interest. If you're a fucking public representative, you should not be a part of the bank. You shouldn't be making money. You shouldn't have your own business. If you're the governor, if you're the mayor, I want you to be the mayor. I don't want you to be the mayor and the barber and the cab driver. I want you to be the mayor. If you have to be the barber and the cab driver for a day or two, what have you, but I don't want you to be the mayor and also making money at the fucking barber shop. I mean, what's basically go and get a haircut, right? And what? Drop a dime on some of these fucking meth junkies, huh? To assume that a person has a business, you're telling me that people in the hotels, the Trump hotels, they're not currying favor by using his hotels? Of course, the Trump hotels, we should, as American people, get a piece of that money because it's not his name, it's because he represents America, and so therefore, that's why people are, flocking to his fucking place, and they might get, some influence. It has nothing to do with him. I mean, he got elected or what have you, but it has to do with America. It has to do with 350 million, red-blooded, heart-beating, mouth-breathing, sitting upright Americans. Now, the Vanguard Total Stock Market is an index fund. It's designed to provide investors with exposure to the entire U.S. equity market, including small, mid, and large cap growth and value stocks. The fund's key attributes are its low cost and broad diversification and the potential for tax efficiency. The potential. Maybe we'll get some tax efficiency. So that all just sounds like bullshit, but just, a quick little definition of what each one of those funds were. So they're both, markets. So it's like he's invested not just in a stock, but he's, something that's called a stock market, which I assume a stock probably could, there's a market probably around every goddamn stock, so I guess every stock could get away with that. So the Vanguard Total Stock Market, he's got at least maybe $5 million in it. And he's got $300,000, maybe millions of dollars in the Causeway International Value Fund. Jerome Powell, everybody. That's who Jerome Powell is. He's a millionaire, he's worth $55 million. He was actually opposed to the third round of the qualitative easing. Quantitative. I keep saying qualitative, but it's not fucking qualitative, right? Quantitative is quality and quantity, so that it's more about printing up quantities, just quantities and quantities of money. It's not about, qualitative easing. We should have qualitative easing. We should not have quantitative easing. Quantitative easing is stupid as fuck. So Jerome Powell said this, January 29th, just like 3 months ago. Jerome Powell, he said, and when we see that we've reached that level, we'll begin to gradually reduce our asset purchases to the level of the underlying trend growth of demand for our liabilities. Gradually reduce asset purchases to the level underlying trend growth of demand for our liabilities. Is that what he's going to do? He's so stupid. So Jerome Powell, he basically believes that the supply of money is based upon the demand for money and not the economic growth rate. Jerome Powell. Jerome Hayden Powell. What a stupid motherfucker. So he's been the federal chair from February 2018 to 2020 for 2 fucking years. Okay, I hear you. So let's, this is all about Jerome Powell. He lives in Chevy Chase, Maryland. He's a Republican Catholic. He's a fucking, multi-millionaire worth $20 to $55 million, maybe $100 million, maybe $112 million. But 20 to 55, maybe 100, maybe more than 100, maybe 112 million. He's the wealthiest member of the Federal Reserve Board, which is actually, makes it sound better. So maybe, these other 4 members are not millionaires. According to his list of assets on government financial disclosure form, he earned the bulk of his wealth as an investment banker. So he's an investment banker, hedge fund managers. He knows all the creative accounting tricks, so he might actually be a good Fed chair if he's honest. So since he's the head of the Fed, and he does run the printing press. When the Fed orders the Treasury, to start printing up money, they do it, especially when Congress has passed it. So, and he gets all that cash. So all that, all the money that's printed up on the presses is going to go into Jerome Hayden Powell's pocket for the time being. And he's going to, he's going to have to document all this and show on the books where all the money went. But he runs the printing presses of the Federal Reserve Note, a.k.a. the Greenback Jack, the U.S. dollar. Janet Yellen was the last federal chair. You didn't even know Janet Yellen, because I didn't know Janet Yellen. And then the last 3 chairs, Janet Yellen, Ben Bernanke, Alan Greenspan. They all had advanced degrees in economics, but not Jerome Powell. He was like, I'm not going to study economics. I'm just going to make it up as I go along. He served on the Federal Board of Governors since 2012. He was appointed by Barack Obama. He was a member of the Federal Reserve Board for 6 years before becoming the Fed chair, the chair of that board. So he's got experience, right? He's slightly more of a monetary dove than the average. A monetary hawk is somebody who advocates for keeping inflation low is the main top priority in monetary policy. Just, who cares about unemployment? Who cares about wages? Just keep that fucking inflation low. That's a monetary hawk. But he's kind of neutral, kind of maybe on the monetary dove side, which, again is exciting. He was a skeptic of the round 3 of the quantitative easing, the printing money up out of thin air in 2012. So he was okay with the first 2 rounds of quantitative easing, but the 3rd round he's like, hold on, we need to put the brakes on this thing. He wants to rewrite the Volcker Rule to exclude smaller banks. He's the enemy of the American people who's worse than China, says the President of the United States. Jerome Powell wrote the Global Trade Slowdown and its Implications for Emerging Asia book. He's a former Carlyle Group executive partner for 8 years, 1997 to 2005. He was part of the investment firm. They have $212 billion in assets. I just wrote $212 in assets worldwide. Served as the Undersecretary of Treasury under Papa Bush. So he's been part of government before. He's making shit ton of fucking money. After he made a shit ton of money, he just becomes a scholar. In 2005 at the Bipartisan Policy Center in D.C., he only gets paid $1 per year from this job. So he really took a huge pay cut, but he had so much fucking money, he didn't have to think about money anymore. He just did what he wanted to do. He's the 11th most powerful people in Forbes' most powerful people list in 2018. He's got a law degree from Georgetown University. Former Carlyle Group, that's the investment bank. That's where he did all, his robbing and stealing, how he became fucking billionaire. Now he owns shares in Causeway International Value Fund and Vanguard Total Stock Market. Been part of the, upper echelon. He's $55 million is what he's worth. $55 million. So he's part of the millionaire class. Not a billionaire, but he's part of the millionaire class. And he's part of the stock market class, which is only 1%, owns 2/3 of all the stock. So he's part of a very, very elite group. Probably part of Bones, Skulls and Bones, and Freemasons, no telling. Republican Catholic, so he's already, fucked up in the head just, twice over. And he's also the head of the Federal Open Market Committee, and this committee in the Fed is charged under U.S. law with overseeing the nation's open market operations. For example, the Federal Reserve's buying and selling of U.S. Treasury securities. This federal committee makes key decisions about interest rates and the growth of the U.S. money supply under the terms of the original Federal Reserve Act. Each of the Federal Reserve banks was authorized to buy and sell in the open market bonds and short-term obligations of the U.S. government, bank acceptances, cable transfers, bills of exchange. The Banking Act of 1933 made the FOMC official. The Federal Open Market Committee, who Jerome Powell also heads, is the principal organ of U.S. monetary policy. The committee sets monetary policy by specifying the short-term objective for the Fed's open market operations, which is usually a target level for the federal funds rate. Okay?